Hey yo, salute to the people. It's the social forecast. Today is Wednesday, April 1st, 2020. Day like 45 in the self-quarantine. And I hope you all do something today to further your goals and to help you realize your dreams. Um, First of all, before we even get into what I want to talk to y'all about, I apologize. Beer getting kind of out of control. Barbershops closed. I can't get a hold of any of my barbers. I shave the top myself. I'll probably do that after I get done doing this video when I get back in the house, but I don't touch my beard. That's for professionals only. This shit getting crazy though. But check this out. This is what I want to talk to y'all about. I just got finished watching 2 videos on YouTube. I typically I watch a lot of different kind of content on YouTube, and one of the main types of content that I consistently watch, those videos where you have like people who either get pulled over or get stopped on the street by police officers who make contact with them for, various different reasons, and then people feel a need to just go from 0 to 100 and just talk crazy, get ignorant, get belligerent. But a lot of those cases that don't end in somebody getting shot or arrested or going to jail because they weren't doing anything wrong, and even the people who do get shot for not doing anything wrong, I'm specifically talking to the people who see those videos, get gassed, and feel a need to act out when they are contacted by the police, when they are approached, stopped, questioned, whatever. I get it. I'm a black man in America, so I understand as much as anyone else who is in a position, who gets pulled over, who feels like this ain't quite right. I know I wasn't doing anything wrong to get pulled over. There's something underlying here. I get it. I've been in those situations where I felt like that. But let me explain something to y'all. And I really, because I know this video is going to take some criticisms from those sovereign citizens, those people who make it their business to go out every day and to make YouTube videos for their channel where they hope to do something, or they try to purposely do something to instigate or initiate police contact so they can spew their rights and throw out different statutes and tell the police officers or security guards or whoever, wherever, what it's their right to do and how they're not subject to being stopped and frisked or stopped and have to identify themselves. I get it. We're not in Africa. We're not in one of those countries where you could just stop me anywhere you want just because you feel like it and ask me to identify who I am. The Constitution, civil rights, these things are meant to protect United States citizens from things like that. You get no argument from me. I perfectly understand. But specifically to the people, right? Because all is fair. I say this all the time too. All is fair in the game. Respect the game and play the game the way it's supposed to be played. If you're somebody who is in the commission of a crime, just committed a crime, or you have warrants, or you are driving on a suspended license, or doing anything where police make contact with you, and you know that your information is not going to check out in whatever way that's going to result in you driving or walking away from that situation, but leaving that situation in handcuffs. You play the game, you respect the game. I understand those people pushing back or trying to avoid the situation because they actually have something to hide, so to speak. Not judging, just saying the purpose of me saying that is for the rest of you, for everybody else, the countless number of people who who you know your information checks out. You know you're not doing anything wrong. You know that you're not in the commission of a crime. You know that your paperwork is in order if you get pulled over. You know that if you provide your ID or your social security number, date of birth, whatever it is that they can ask you for, or at times have asked for, to try and identify who you are. And you know you are who you are. You're not giving a fake name. You're not doing anything that's going to result in you being detained or arrested. But you choose to argue against it. You choose to protest for your rights. You choose to protest the fact that you don't have to provide that information in situations where you may be right. You don't have to. But really consider this, because I don't care about the people who are going to see this and criticize those quote-unquote sovereign citizens, or those people who get up in arms and say, oh, but you know, we got to fight for our rights, and they're out here killing us, and they're going to shoot unarmed black people and Hispanic people, and, you know, men and women, and we're not going to let them get away with it. We have to fight back. I understand. But it's a smart way to fight. And then there's a way that's not too smart for you to fight. And my number one rule for me, for my life, when I'm conducting my business every day, personal business, work business, whatever, I tell people this all the time. I have iterated and reiterated it on this channel, on this platform. I have one job when I leave my house every day. You know, whether I'm going to job number one, whether I'm going to job number two, whether I'm going to the grocery store, whether I'm going to the gas station to get gas, whether I'm going to get coffee, no matter where I'm going, no matter what my destination is, once I leave my house, before my job is to be a father to my kids, to be the best father I can be to my kids, before my job is to be a husband, before my job is to be a good employee and do the job that I'm paid to do, you know, the best that I can, before any of those jobs, before any of those titles even come into play, once I leave my house every day, I have one job. And that job, my number one job, is to make it back home. Because in order to be all those things, all those other titles, to fulfill my role in those titles, the only way I can do that is if I'm here to do it. So when I leave my house, my number one job is to make it back home. And I have personally encountered overzealous police officers, overly cranked up on adrenaline, or the fight they might have gotten into with their husbands or wives at home, or whatever. Because all a police officer is a person with a uniform, a badge, and a gun, and a taser. That's it. Underneath all that, you strip all that away, and they're people subject to the same mood swings and personality flaws and bad character as the rest of us. And they're liable to do anything, because in addition to the mood swings, in addition to the fights that they get into with loved ones, kids who aren't listening, you add that bad mood or that mood swing or that bad day to the fact that they have in their possession two deadly weapons. One, definitely a deadly weapon, being their service weapon, their gun, and then two, their taser, which could potentially be a deadly weapon depending on the condition of the person, the health condition of the person that they potentially could use that taser on. It changes things a little bit. My advice is this: I would never tell somebody to not stand up for their rights. I would never tell somebody to not fight for their rights. But all these videos I see on YouTube, it puts me in a difficult position, because on one hand, I'm looking at these videos, I'm looking at the situation, and I'm saying, nah, that's not right. And I'm saying, why is this officer doing that? Or why is he saying that? And what was really the reason for him doing that? So I get it. I've seen dozens and hundreds, if not thousands, over the years of footage. Clearly shows that there's not something quite right with this contact this police officer made, or, you know, the stop that police officer initiated. But let me tell you how it doesn't help. the belligerence, the ignorance that I see time and time again in these videos being displayed, the behavior being exhibited by the person who is claiming to have done nothing wrong and asserting their rights. And this is the important part you have to understand. Police officer who is not the best among them, for whatever reason, already have it made up in their mind when they observe whoever you are and choose to make contact. If that contact is not warranted, if their reasons for making contact with you or pulling you over or approaching you is not to the letter of the law based on something you did wrong, if it's just a suspicion they have because of how you look, they're wrong. I won't argue that. It happens. It does. But the place to fight that is not on the side of the highway. The place to fight that is not on the side of the road in the middle of the night or early in the morning or mid-afternoon or whenever. The place to fight that is not in front of your house outside, screaming, arguing, waving your hands, making hand gestures, not because you're not right, but because it's not going to get you anywhere. Even in the best case scenario, the worst case scenario is from that situation, you end up in the morgue, or from that situation, you end up in the hospital, or you end up tased or harmed in police custody. And then body cam footage goes missing or gets deleted or edited or is not released to the press or gets delayed in the release to the press. And now you have your family trying to fight in your memory for something that you were not in the wrong for. If you truly feel and think that your rights are being violated and your civil liberties are being infringed on, fight. But the place to do that is in the courtroom. The place to do that is by getting through that situation the way that you went into it, healthy, alive. You can always file a complaint. You can always get that officer's badge number, their name. You can always find out what substation or police department or barracks if they're state police. You can always find where that police officer is working out of, what department or district they belong to. And it doesn't take anything in 2020 but a little bit of research and some phone calls to file a complaint, to file a lawsuit, to have your day in court. Because then you're there to fight. You're there to give your account. You're there to give your testimony of what happened. Dead people can't testify. All dead people have is their family, their loved ones who they left behind to try and fight in their memory after they're already gone. And then, unfortunately, in too many of those cases, because there's nobody to tell their story, and because this body cam thing is very recent, only in the past couple years, and prior to that, and even now still, it's your word against that officers or those officers on that scene. And they can say anything, and they can do anything. And unfortunately, today, April 1st, 2020, I know that there's legislation being proposed to try and eliminate this, at least from some states, which I do have to shout out those states. But the way everything exists now on the law books, all these police officers have to say is they felt that their life was in danger, and so they used lethal force to alleviate themselves of that fear. And unfortunately, no matter how much of an upstanding citizen you are, no matter the fact that you pay your taxes, no matter the fact that you go to work every day and you're a productive citizen and that you are a citizen, don't matter. They say they felt their life was in danger. 9 times out of 10, that justifies them to use that lethal force. And if they've used that lethal force, you're not here to give your account of what happened. So who is really there to dispute it but loved ones, but family members, but friends, employers, coaches, whoever, to say this was a good person, they had a good character, I don't see them doing anything that would justify them being killed. But that's speculation. Legally speaking, in a courtroom, that's speculation. Because the only person who was there other than that officer or those officers, is not here to say what happened. Not here for the jury to look at them, to hear them from their mouths say what their credentials are, what their work life is, how productive they are as a citizen. And unfortunately, even when you're here to speak up for yourself after these situations happen, but especially more so when you're not. Anything that you did 20 years ago, you were suspended from school for having a fight, you picked up a fucking pack of gum in a store and didn't pay for it. No matter what you do, you posted something on Facebook, you posted something on Instagram. And these are the things that they will use in the courtroom to say, hey, this ain't no upstanding citizen. Look, you making rap videos. Look, you posted on Instagram. Fuck the police. You posted on Twitter. Y'all gotta understand that there is a way to fight these things. I watched 2 videos today, and I've talked about this before, but I watched 2 videos this morning that made me say, you know what? I can't. I watched 3 videos. The first video was of this college student who was on campus, right, the dorm where he lived, and he was working on campus, picking up trash from the campus and from around the front of the building where he lives and goes to school. Police officer approached him, kind of alluded a little bit to why the police officer made contact with him, asked him for his ID, asked him to identify himself. This college student handed him a college ID, which college student got a college ID. It's a college campus. Should be it, right? Most people, common sense would tell you, oh, that should be the end of it. He asked for an ID. It's a college student. He gave him a college ID. But because this college ID did not have this college student's date of birth, this police officer wasn't satisfied. And he said, I need to verify this is where you live. I need to verify who you are because I'm here investigating a potential trespass. I understand. And look, to you sovereign citizens, to you people who have these channels, who do these videos, and to you regular people who come in contact with the police and start recording for your safety, cool, keep doing it. And you say, listen, I don't have to show you that. If me personally, if I have not personally been identified as having committed a crime, if you were not called for me specifically, and if you are not in suspicion of me having committed a crime or being in the commission of a crime, but you're just openly investigating a potential trespass and you're just asking me to identify myself, and I'm not driving, because unfortunately, for those too many of you who don't realize, when you sign the paperwork, when you get your driver's license, you are consenting to providing identification when you are pulled over driving. It's unfortunate, but it's in the fine print that we don't read. You are consenting to the fact that you will have to present a driver's license that is valid and not expired and active if and when you were pulled over. Whatever. Whole nother issue. But if a police officer were to walk up to you in any other situation, yes, legally and technically speaking, no, you don't have to identify who you are. You do have that right. But understand that some of you take it so far left that I'm surprised at some of these videos. If people don't get shot, they shouldn't be. But y'all gotta understand, when you mix a police officer who already is being overzealous, and anything you say other than yes sir, no sir, yes ma'am, no ma'am, and anything outside of you being in full compliance, now their ego's hurt. Now they feel like you're disrespecting their so-called authority. And now the situation's escalated. I saw this college student screaming at the top of his lungs at this police officer, who, mind you, was dead wrong and did later resign as a result of the investigation into that situation. But this college student was holding a bucket and one of those things that you pick up the trash with, not threatening at all, in my opinion. But the police officer kept saying, put down your weapon, put down your weapon. Now, listen, I know. Shout that on camera a bunch of times, you know, make it clear that you were in fear for your life. But this college student kept shouting, it's not a weapon. I'm picking up trash with it. I don't have to sit down. I don't have to tell you who I am. I gave you my college ID. I live here. Why are you harassing me? And look, everything that he was saying was 100% right. And I know a lot of y'all are not going to understand this, but had he taken 30 seconds to say, look, I am who I am. I live here. I gave you my college ID. Here's my date of birth. Run what you got to run and let me go on about my business. And after that, police officer would have verified this information. He probably would have felt stupid after the fact, but he would have had no choice but to go on about his business. And then, because yes, technically that was a violation of that person's civil rights, because they did not do anything wrong, they could have filed a complaint. But I think that too many of you people think that if you don't get that situation to escalate farther, to make it look so egregious on camera, that you think you don't have a case, or you think you don't have a valid. But y'all don't have to let a situation escalate that far in order to prove your point. Y'all don't have to let a situation escalate to the point of you potentially being in danger of being shot, because then it went from being one police officer who wasn't going to leave just because this college student kept saying, get off my property, I live here, leave me alone. No. Fast forward a few minutes, now there's 8 police officers surrounding this college student. And of course, they're going to back each other up in that moment. Thankfully, that situation ended with that police officer being told by, I guess, the supervisor who showed up, listen, we verified who he is. He does live here. He's doing nothing wrong. He lives here. He's doing nothing wrong. Give him his ID back. Let him go on about his business. And then that police officer proceeded to mute the audio on his body cam, but you could clearly see that he was trying to protest having to give this person back his ID and letting him go on about his business. He felt stupid. He was dead wrong. And this college student was vindicated because, like I said, this police officer did resign. And we know what that means. He was either forced to resign, asked to resign, or he would be fired. But he resigned as a result of that investigation. And I hope that college student did file an official complaint and hopefully a lawsuit, because you don't get to see that after the fact. You know, you see these videos, but sometimes you get a synopsis of what happened subsequently, if that police officer was let go or transferred or what have you. But you don't always get to see the follow-up story of what happened with that person. But I wouldn't have done things the way that college student did it. And I understand, you're young, you know, you're hyped up, it's everything going on socially, you know, you feel violated, cool. But you have parents or a parent at home, you have loved ones at home who don't want to get a phone call that their college student son or nephew or niece or daughter or brother or sister was shot and killed on campus where they live and go to school, out of a situation that they were not wrong in initially, but escalated that situation because unfortunately you did act unnecessarily ignorant in that situation. You gotta understand something, right, wrong, or indifferent. These police officers have lethal weapons. And all they need to do is say they were in fear for their life. And when on camera, you look as if you can appear threatening to anyone else. And let me quantify and let me justify that. Unfortunately, in America, all you have to do to appear threatening to most of these juries, to say that without saying what I really mean, unfortunately, all you have to do is be Black or Hispanic in some cases. In a lot of cases, that's enough to appear threatening. Look at me. I'm 6'3", 240. I got piercings all over my face and a beard. I don't have to do anything else to appear threatening. I don't have to do anything else to appear intimidating. I've had friends of mine who later got to know me, became friends, and who understand, and most people who know me understand, I'm a gentle giant. I'm one of the most gentle creatures you could come across on the face of this earth. Unless the situation warrants for me not to be. But on first look, I've had close friends of mine tell me, yo, you look scary when I first met you. You look mad unapproachable. Anybody who knows me knows that's not the case. But any police officer who makes contact with me, if I'm not in a suit, if I'm not in, my business casual dress that I go to work in, I understand that. If I'm just in sweatpants or basketball shorts or what have you, I'm gonna look intimidating. If for nothing else, because of the way I look, before my skin color even comes into play, that exponentially raises that intimidation level. It's not right. It shouldn't be the case in 2020. So what I have piercings? So what I have tattoos all over my body? So what? It's how I express myself. But I understand something, that my kids don't care that I was fighting for my rights on the side of the road. My kids don't care that I was fighting for my rights out on the street because some police officer mistook me for a description matching someone else who did something somewhere else, but I fit the description, tall, black. And that's half the description most of the time. All my kids will know if I decide to act the way I see people act in some of these videos and get myself arrested, shot, whatever, killed. All my kids know is daddy's not coming home. And that's what I don't want for anybody, ever, anywhere. Even if you are doing something illegal, I don't want that for you, because everybody, even a criminal, deserves their day in court. And even somebody who's doing something wrong outside of, in my opinion, hurting a woman or a child, you still deserve to walk away from that situation with your life in 9 cases out of 10. And y'all have to start realizing that nothing is more important than your life. File your complaint, file your lawsuit after you make it out of that situation. Because that police officer, if that is the person you think they are, and if they are abusing their powers, to them, in their mind, they're judge, jury, and executioner. You need to remove yourself from that situation in the most civil way possible and go after them where you really have power. Because now you're there to speak on it. One of the other videos I watched just before I decided to do this video was a Virginia State University girl basketball player who was pulled over in a car with her girlfriend, who was in the back seat. Police officer pulled them over for speeding. They said they weren't speeding, what have you. Listen, I've been pulled over for things that I know I wasn't doing. Just so happens in that situation, when that happened to me, I had a dash cam, which I recommend everybody have dash cameras in their cars. It doesn't only protect you if there's an accident, but it also protects you when you get pulled over. I got pulled over. Police officer said I crossed the white line near the breakdown lane, or what a lot of us refer to in most states as the shoulder, and that's why they pulled me over. I knew that wasn't the case. I was driving a nice car at night, windows tinted, whatever. The police officer asked me for my license, and on his way back to his cruiser, happened to look up and saw that I had a dash cam, because he saw the screen and it was lit up, and he walked back up to the car and said, is that dash camera on? And I said, yes, sir, definitely is. And he goes, why do you have that? I go, I always have a dash cam in my car. And anytime I'm in my car and I'm driving, it's recording. And he goes, does it record audio also? I said, yes, sir, definitely does. He looked at me, took another look at my license, handed it back to me and said, have a nice night. Got back into his cruiser. It was a state police officer. Got back into his cruiser, went on about his business, and I continued on my way to work. Because he knew like I knew. I didn't cross no line. I wasn't swerving. I wasn't intoxicated. I wasn't speeding. But all these cops have to say is, this is why I pulled you over. So they can satisfy any suspicion they might have. Or even if they just want to see if there's something to be suspicious about. Well, I don't knock it. I have friends who are police officers. And I know a lot of people who are police officers. And they're not all bad. A lot of them are good cops. And that officer, at least to their credit, recognized, all right, this person has this situation recorded. They weren't doing anything. The camera's recording it. You know, the audio is recorded. I'm going to go on about my business. Not worth it. I said, have a good night. He said, have a good night. Went on about his business. Now, if I wanted to, and he didn't get verbally offensive or abusive or disrespectful in any way, shape, or form, said, have a good night. I went on about my business. Now, if he had gotten belligerent, if he had tried to issue me a citation, or even if I chose to, after the fact, to inquire with that barracks, say, listen, I got pulled over on such and such date. I have put my dash cam footage. This police officer pulled me over for X offense. I can show that that's not what I was doing. And I just want to issue a complaint just because I was pulled over for something that I shouldn't have been pulled over for. I could have done that safely, healthy, and alive. These things do not have to escalate to the point of there ever potentially being a shot fired, a taser deployed, or anything. Y'all have to realize your life is more important. Your life is more valuable than fighting with a police officer on the side of the road. So, in this video, this college student, this is the last part, I promise. I know it's getting long, but this is important. The last part of the video, before I turned it off, I didn't even finish the rest of the video. So, this VSU basketball player, whose girlfriend was in the back seat, and she's on the phone with her coach, saying, listen, they're pulling me over. They're lying, saying I was speeding. I know I wasn't, whatever. The girlfriend is in the back seat. The girlfriend is in the back seat shouting, he's a fucking pig. I don't like racists. He's a pig. I don't like liars. I'm about to knock him out, rolling the window down, acting crazy in the car. The driver's getting in and out of the car, reaching into the car. Listen, first of all, don't be moving around and fidgeting around in the middle of the night while you have a police officer you already suspect to be pulling you over for reasons outside of the scope of what they should be pulling you over for. Don't give an additional reason for that situation to get out of control. And then control your passengers. Don't ride around with or be in company of people who are liable to be that ignorant. Because then what if that police officer decided to say, oh, so now you're issuing threats to me, you're gonna knock me out, you're moving around in a car, I can't see what you're doing. If he would have pulled his gun and shot one or both of them, unfortunately, with that girl screaming on camera saying, I'm gonna knock you out, you're a pig, all he had to do was say, you know what, I felt in fear for my life at that point. And everybody would have came out, and it would have been this big thing. And then there would have been marches, and there would have been press conferences, and there would have been protests. But listen, control the people you have in your vehicle. Know who you have around you and who's liable to act how or what way in what situations. Because I don't play that shit. You're not about to potentially escalate a situation where I, as a driver, am dealing with a police officer, and you, as a passenger, now want to get belligerent or get involved and protest why you think I shouldn't be pulled over or why you think I should not have been contacted by the police. Let me handle what I got to handle, and then we could deal with what we can deal with and what we have to deal with after that situation is done. Because I hate to say it, but unfortunately, these are the reasons how some of these situations go from bad to worse. And I don't want to see, my purpose here is not to say don't fight for your rights. My purpose here is to say be able to fight for your rights in court where you really have more power because you are alive. You are there to show that footage that you say you're recording. Because once you get shot and killed, who knows what's going to happen to that phone that was recording? Who knows what's going to happen to that footage? But if you're able to walk away from that situation, still with your phone in your possession as your property, now you can post that footage. Now you can contact your attorney. Now you can file that complaint and not have to worry about that footage being destroyed or that footage being... Y'all don't. Y'all have to understand that your most important job, whether you're a student, a husband, a wife, a mother, a father, daughter, son, whatever, you have one job when you are not in your home. And that job is to make it back home to do the things that you're responsible for doing. That's it. I hope this wasn't too long. But sometimes I got to get out here and I got to vent and I got to let y'all know some of the things that you all are doing. You might be in the right as far as the spirit of the situation goes. But there are ways to go about things. And I want everybody to be safe and healthy. And the only way we're going to get these bad apples, these bad police officers among the many who are good, who are decent, because they have to get home safe too. They have to deal with the drawback of the bad ones when they make contact with people doing their job the right way, because so many of us assume they all are bad, and they all are not bad. So they have to incur that extra stress and worry if they're going to make it back home to their families, because all of us are so frustrated and up in arms, rightfully so. But everybody needs to take it down a little bit and consider that your life is more important. And then you get justice. First, the first thing you do is protect your life, and then you get justice. I don't pretend to know everything. I just know what I know. Like, comment, and subscribe. It's the Social Forecast, the realest channel online. I promise, if you're not subscribed, you're out your fucking mind. Let me know what y'all think about this one, and I'll see you on the next one.